I'm Kendall Ratliff. I believe that you can change your life by trying one thing at a time. You can learn more at my website, tryonething.co, or by tuning in to the Help NSFW podcast.
And I'm Jonny Fairplay, reality TV, survivor. And throughout my adventures, I've met a lot of interesting and motivating characters.
Jonny and I made this podcast because we want you to unlock your full fucking potential. So whether you want to get a little more badass or a lot more badass, strap in. Join us here each week. It's Help NSFW. Hey.
Hello. We are joined, of course, I'm Jonny Fairplay. That's Kendall Ratliff. But, oh my God, I have Survivor royalty, the majestic purple pants icon himself, Brice Izyah. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So this is a little different than my normal brand.
Yes.
So, I'm, you know what, let me switch to this one. There we go.
Yeah, I can see myself.
We're both here now.
Hi.
Sorry. I was just going to switch the camera to you if I had to choose between one of us.
That's nice.
I'm trying to get viewers here.
I would choose that angle too. So
smart. So, Brice, we have you here for a multitude of reasons because you check a lot of boxes. I don't know if you're aware. So, but Kendall, start us off. What direction are you going to take us to begin with?
Well, I am. So probably anyone who's already listened to us knows that Jonny is bringing the reality knowledge, and I'm not. I never watch reality TV. So luckily, Jonny picks guests that have a lot of other cool stuff going on in their lives. So I love what you are about with diversity, inclusion, trying to diversify reality TV, and that you're a social worker, and that you're using your platform as a queer Black man to make the change you want to see in the world. So that's the shit I'm interested in. But I know people like reality TV, so that's fine too.
I mean, Brice has done so many reality television interviews that if you need that intel, it's out there. Plus, go to the Purple Pants podcast. He talks reality every week.
There you go.
yes.
So how did you make the switch? What came first, actually? Reality TV or being a social worker?
So my background's in education. So I started out being a school teacher at a charter school in Philadelphia. And while I was literally my first year out, I was bringing in shoes for kids. I was bringing in lunches for kids. And I really just felt like my personality was too big to be kind of like wrapped up in a classroom. And I like had called my mom and I was like, you know what? I think I want to make a change. I'm going to give a year of social work. And so I started working for a child welfare agency, and I quickly just really loved being able to be in the community and really affect change in lives. I had gotten a lot of cases that were historically, will never be able to close. These cases will be in these people's lives forever. And here I am 2 months into the case and I'm closing it. And just really being my authentic self, showing up as a Black queer man. They were able to relate to me. I'm not coming in here telling you what you need to do. I'm like, let's work together so that we can get out of here so you guys can go on with your lives. And so I really kind of just felt my niche in social work, and people are able to relate to me. I said, I show up as my authentic true self in any space that I'm in, and people are able to they recognize that, they see that, and they get something out of it. So I really do enjoy social work.
Do you think Survivor opened the door for you and, kind of made it a little easier to do this versus not having that, national platform to kind of put yourself out there first?
So Survivor somewhat hindered me in the sense that when I came back from Survivor, they took me off of cases because they were worried for they're like, oh, you're on a national television. I'm like, I was the third out. Don't nobody know who I am. We're good on that aspect. But yeah, so I was actually taken off of going into the community for a while until they saw the episode and they was like, oh, okay, you go back in the community. Don't nobody know who you are.
But that's not true. I mean, I think in the history of Survivor, for a third boot, you got to be one of the most famous ever.
I mean, I'll take that title from one of the legends himself. So yeah, but I think that's a testament, Jonny, to just my authenticness. I could have got off and just been bitter. Instead, I got off and I felt like I'm just a super fan with like special access is really how I look at it. Because I still love the show. I still love to give my critiques. I still love to go on Twitter like, I can't believe he would do that. And people always humble me like, you were third out. Shut up. So
well, they didn't make the show. It's okay. You're allowed to.
So with your authenticity, do you feel like that opens doors even when you're working with people who aren't gay, who aren't Black, who aren't men? Do you think your authenticity gives people permission even if they don't share all of the same?
Absolutely. I think that me showing up as myself, people recognize that I'm a queer Black man and I am a minority in a minority. And the fact of my outlook is still so positive. My outlook is still like we can accomplish anything if we put our minds to it. I think that that really opens up a lot of the doors for people. I also spent time working at a psychiatric hospital. I worked there for 8 years and we managed the suicide hotline. And that was, at first, I did not like it in the sense because we're still managing a crisis center and people are coming in. And then we've got this phone call that we've got to stay on. But soon it really became my passion working on the suicide hotline because I would talk to them like they're my friends. And I remember there was this one person that called in with like suicide ideation and they were just saying some things. And I was talking to them like, well, what's the issue? Like, let's make a plan. And my supervisor tapped me on the shoulder and was like, Brice, you can't have personal conversations while you're at work. And I'm like, I'm on the suicide hotline. and they were just so not used to my approach. And my approach isn't like, oh, let me baby you. What do you need? Like, I'm going to talk to you like you were one of my friends. And I realized that a lot of the people that were calling in to the suicide hotline, they didn't have a network. They didn't have someone that would listen to them. They didn't have someone that would yell at them. They didn't have someone that would cry with them. And I became their purple pants friend. And I would listen, not judging, but I would also give my opinion and say like, hey, I don't know whether or not if this is actually something that you need to be considering, or have you tried this, or have you done this? And I would really give like call to action to them. And I was really successful on the suicide hotline. And it really started out something I did not like. And then I really grasped to it because again, my authenticity, like I'm not just going to be like, oh my God, do we need to call the police? I'm just like, no, what's the problem? Okay, I understand you're upset, but like, what is causing that upsetness? Like what triggered that? And let's kind of work through that. And so I've been successful in that. Again, just being myself and just listening.
And I love what you're saying about, it sounds like you're helping people dig to the bottom and you're not coming at it with, well, here's what you need to do. It sounds like you're asking questions. And I think people that come to the helping professions, there can sometimes be an attitude of, I'm going to show up and tell them what to do and fix them.
Right.
And I think people reject that.
Absolutely. Because it's like, you don't know me. You're spending 30 seconds on the phone with me. How can you like diagnose and treat me? Like, no, I honestly would listen and just give my advice and say like, I can understand where you're coming from. And I always try to lead with a strength-based approach. So it's more, positive. Like, let's talk about what is positive going on in your life. You're breathing, you're calling the suicide hotline prevention. So that means you have some sort of income because your phone is still on. Like, let's talk about the positive things before we dig into the negative. Yeah.
And I could see that helping so much in social work. You not coming in with a deficit mindset or I think it's very easy to, when you come in with solutions without listening, to make it sound like you're blaming the person. And poverty and so much of it is systemic that to come in with just like, well, here's how we can help you try harder. Well, fuck off.
Right.
You don't know the environment that is surrounding me.
And reading from a checklist. I mean, like, so it's just like, oh, do you feel like, like you need to do this? It's just like, you don't know they need to do that, motherfucker.
Absolutely. And historically, like social work is a predominantly like white female driven field. And so they are in urban areas where I had a case where my supervisor gave it to me. They're like, yeah, the police has to go out with the social worker every time they go out. And so I was like, okay, I'll go out. And they're like, you don't want the police? I'm like, I can run. So if anything happens, I'll run. And
I've seen you run, Brice. I don't. Johnny, Wendell has outed your running abilities.
Listen, that was a one-time thing that hasn't happened before. But I went to the home and I was greeted by this father who was upset and he was yelling. And, okay, you're allowed to yell. And a
Mhm.
lot of times people take yelling as aggression. And for me, when I go into any home, I treat them like they're my family. And I think when
Mhm.
coming from that approach, if a random stranger is yelling at you, you're going to be like, what the hell? But if like your uncle Johnny Fairplay is yelling at you,
Right.
you're like, well, what's wrong? And so, just literally listening to him. And then, I'm with the new caseworker, and he was explaining to me how the previous social worker would only do the meetings on the porch and go over goals. And he's just like, I don't want my neighbors knowing about this and all of this stuff. And so I'm like, well, if I can come,
Understandable.
right. And if I can come in and we can talk and that respect and that, I'm not scared of you. I hear you yelling. I understand that you can yell. And I was able to kind of sort of work through. And again, just showing up as my authentic self, listening, hearing what he had to say. And some of the things, and a lot of the things that he had to say was so valid. But I think that, again, like you said, when you come in from this, I'm the expert, you don't know anything, that's very belittling of people. And in the field that I work in, 9 times out of 10, the families have the answer. I look at it as like, I'm coming along to help you identify the answers.
Right.
And I will always say to them, tell me and I will report back to the court. I'm just the liaison. I'm just the mouthpiece. And so the better our working relationship is, the better that I can see you showing capacities that you can care for your children, the better I can get out. I don't want to be here. I don't want to come to your house. Let me not come to your house.
Right.
And so, working from that aspect I really got positive results.
Absolutely. And you being able to hold people's anger and their volume. Were you an elementary school teacher?
I was.
So important. My 2 best friends are elementary school teachers, often in Title I, Tier 1 schools. And they always they get really good outcomes with their students, and they start with relationships, and they are white women. Again, education, social work, really white women dominated, but they don't shame and get flustered by kids' anger. They're just like, yep, okay. And it just makes so much sense to approach it that way, because especially those kids' stories. Yeah, I'd be an angry 8-year-old.
Right. And 8-year-olds aren't they don't just come out being angry. I think about what must be behind that anger. What are you going through every day? What are your struggles? And coming in from empathy, and just showing empathy and showing them that you understand and that you're listening really goes a long way. I think that in this field, we're titled as experts. We've got these numbers and letters behind our names, and we think that I'm thousands of dollars in debt, so I could come here and tell you what is the best for you. But no,
I'm so smart. I got thousands of dollars of debt. Yeah.
So no, you're the doctorate. You're the master of your life. And I want to help you unlock your gifts and your potentials to, again, get me out of here. I don't want to come here every week. Again. And I always try to lead with that. You think I want to wake up 7 o'clock in the morning to come to your house and have you yell at me? Yeah, no, I'd rather be home watching Survivor. So help me help you.
Right.
I love it. So, and a lot of things, as you mentioned, a lot of the problems, aren't with the 8-year-old. It's with the 8-year-old surroundings and what's going on around them. I mean, I've dated a few school teachers. I've dated a lot of people, but I've had some school teachers, and I remember one year a school teacher I was dating. She was teaching 3rd grade, and there was one female student in 3rd grade that was, by all accounts of other teachers, a nightmare. I mean, she took another kid into the bathroom and forced her hand down that other girl's pants, and and that's rape. At a 3rd grade level. And
learned behavior.
What exactly, you have other teachers going, this kid's a nightmare. It's just no, this kid's surroundings are a nightmare, because that kid didn't go, what I'm thinking would be a good idea to do right now. No, that kid's going, what happened to me last night.
Right.
So, and it's just scary. And, I see, so many labels and things thrown on people, without the understanding and empathy of the causation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw a quote that really stuck with me when I'm around children. Behavior is communication. And I mean, we all have bad days where we're just like acting like a piece of shit just because we are. But honestly, a lot of times.
Am I supposed to embrace that statement? Because I am.
Wow, what is that communicating about you? Jonny?
Plenty.
Yeah, I always say that like that for me goes not even for children, for adults. And I always say like undealt with trauma manifests its way in people's lives in so many different ways, aspects.
So many.
And people don't even know. And I'm really big on like checking in with myself. I'm really good at like, before I go to sleep, I like will reflect on the day. And I'm like, could I have handled that better? Could I like, why is Jonny Fairplay always so triggering to me? Why when I see him, am I like getting like, and then when you reflect, you can be like, wow, he reminds me of my grandfather who was not nice to me, and there's just so many things that people just don't understand. And that if they just checked in with themselves, or like, I'm such a big proponent of like mental health and like, therapy. And a lot of the times people label therapy like, oh, there's something wrong with me. And for me, necessarily, I don't think that even meeting with a therapist is the only form of therapy. Like I'm a runner. And when I run, it clears my mind. Like I can't explain it, but like when I run, like all of the thoughts in my mind, they're like in the air, and I can kind of like, work through it, whether it's like going for a walk, whether it's like talking to your friend, whether it's journaling, whether it's listening to music, like some form of release where you're able to kind of like reflect on the things in your life, I think are like so great. But yeah, I'm so huge on like checking in and like really like analyzing myself. Cause I always say on my podcast, I'm on a road to a better Brice. And it's a long road. I ran out of gas a couple of times. I had to push the car, but I'm still on that road to just being a better version of myself. And I think that we all can kind of adapt that and really like work to like evolve and change and be better us.
And I don't know how people get through the day and sleep at night without doing things like what you're talking about, checking in with themselves and exercising. When I don't do that, I see it in my sleep. At my back, the only time I get like tweaks in my back is when I'm not taking care of my brain. It comes out through my spine. And I just wonder how many people are walking around just bearing, even if they don't have trauma, but they're just not processing the stress from their day. Like how are they sleeping? How are they not having sciatica? That stuff, it comes out somewhere.
I always say that, like, the saying, like, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. No, you woke up not checking in with yourself. And that like really is, key. There are so many things that bother us that we are just unaware of because it is like in our behavior. We just think that it's normal. And it's not. And I think that, the more we normalize checking in with ourselves, the more we normalize therapy, the more we normalize, like, it's okay if your family is dysfunctional. The way we normalize setting boundaries, I think that is also so key. A lot of people get triggered from family members, from friends, and from not setting appropriate boundaries. Like, it's okay to tell someone like, I don't want to talk to you today. It's okay not to answer your phone. Like, we do these things because we feel like we have to. We feel like it's like showing them love. We like, no, but in order to show love, you have to know what love is. And to know what love is, you got to love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, how can you love anyone else?
Setting boundaries is so hard. And like you were saying, with you can't really tell someone else what to do without asking and knowing about their situation. Do you have any hard and fast rules to help people set boundaries? Or is it all so case by case?
It's also case by case, but I also say like, you got to like, again, checking in with yourself. If something does, if you get an innate feeling that you're uncomfortable or your stomach is always churning, listen to that. And again, I think we are in the society where it's like, oh, we got to be polite. Oh, we got to, know how many times I hang up on the phone on Jonny when he get on my nerves. Like, you have to really like, know what makes you feel good and know what you don't like. And you have to give yourself permission to say, I'm going to put myself first. And I always tell people like, I feel like I'm like the therapist in my friend groups. Like people always like call me and like, and the reality is if someone does not make you feel good, why are they in your life?
Yeah. I think it's an example of a lot of times your body knows something that your mind is pushing down or ignoring. And so the more we can get like, I've been in emotional intelligence classes where they'll say, you know, where do you feel anger? Like, or where do you feel embarrassment? And people feel it in different parts of their bodies because it is all individual. But once I started paying attention to strong emotions and like where it is in my physical body, it was like a shortcut to get more aware of what was happening in my mind. Like, oh, I've got that tightness in my chest and my throat feels small. I'm scared.
Right. Yeah, it's the your hormones in your body that they know, and a lot of the times we don't listen to it because like the society norms, you know, tell us not to. They tell us to be like, oh, be nice, be friendly, and like, you know, treat others how you want to be treated. But do you treat yourself how you want to be treated?
And whether you want to call it white supremacy culture or capitalism, there is, I think, especially in the corporate world, just this huge value on, well, be a logical, calm-headed person. And it's
Right.
bullshit. We're full people.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And so I just think it's the importance of really knowing yourself. And which is why I always say, like, check in. Like, we think we know ourselves or we believe what we've told ourselves, but in actuality, we could be the exact opposite. And which is why it's so good to have a core network of friends and family where you really could just be yourself and not have to, you know, in this world today, we've got to put on a face and be this person and be so you look on social media, everybody's fucking happy. Nobody is that happy.
Well, on Twitter, they're not happy.
Well, that's true.
Twitter, if you need to find unhappy, just hang out on Twitter for a few minutes. You will find that unhappiness you're looking for.
And they're behind profiles without photos. They're not like, you know.
Yeah, keyboard cowards with eggs as avatars. So,
Jonny, what are your big feelings? How well does Jonny know Jonny?
Well, I'm kind of with Brice. Like, I mean, I juggle like 8 jobs, and I feel Brice is the gay black version of Jonny Fairplay. I mean, like I'm a realtor. He's a social worker. Like, you know, I do 20 podcasts a week. Brice is doing 20 podcasts a week. You know, we're attacking social media daily. You know, he's working with kids. I have 2 kids. And my release, I run 3 to 10 miles every day. I mean, like, you know, like I'm going to be in, Louisville in a couple weeks, for an appearance. I'm going to be running 3 miles that day, because if I don't run 3 miles that day, that's when it all catches. Like, you know, my podcast co-host, Matt Bischoff, he's like, how do you do all these things you do? Like, you know, I DJ, I sell records. Like, you know, I'm constantly, my life is a constant hustle. He's like, how is this? And I was just like, that release, like that 3 miles, as Brice says, you know, you see those things in the air and you know, you can see this here, and you can't unless you take that second to look at yourself and look at, you know, just kind of like meta stuff. So, but that's for me. And I'm always constantly trying to learn, because like, I like Rob C is the smartest survivor to never win. I feel like I'm up there too. But at the same time, there's plenty I don't know. And there's plenty of questions that I'm asking. And like, you know, like I have 2 kids. I have Piper, who's 13, and Madeline, who's 4. Well, Piper, you know, a few months ago, she was like, Dad, can we put a pride flag in the front yard? And I said, sure. So if you go down my street, I live right outside of Danville in Providence, North Carolina. It's Trump flag, Trump flag, Trump flag, Trump flag, Trump flag, pride flag, Trump. It's just like one of these things is not like the other. And then 2 days ago, Piper says, could I get a pride flag for my room? And I'm like, sure. But she chose a different pride flag. She chose the transgender pride flag. So, and you know, I'm keeping my ear to the ground, seeing, you know, where. So, but you know, I don't think I'm talking out of turn here. In which Piper started seeing a psychologist. I think she just had her second session. She's going every 2 weeks, and she had her second session yesterday, and you know, Piper's figuring out Piper. So I can tell you that her hero in all of life right now is Loki, because Loki is non-binary. So and I'm thinking that Piper's going to be a big fan of Evie going into season 41 of Survivor.
Yes. And I love that story so much, Jonny. And I love the fact that like you're not putting any pressure on Piper and you're just allowing her to discover who she is. And I think that is so important. And again, I think representation is so important. It helps children see things in a different way. And one of my biggest pet peeves is how now in society they're saying, oh, it's the gay agenda. They're showing men kissing on cartoons. Why is Robin gay? Like, I had a conversation with one of my best friends, their husband, when in the comic book where Robin, they're saying Robin is bisexual. And, you know, the husband was just like, I just don't appreciate that. Like, what is my kid thinking? And at first, my reaction, I wanted to be like, bish, what? Because, you know, and sometimes, and again, people are entitled to how they feel. And sometimes they see a bigger thread and they think something. And I think when you can make it personal, it really affects them, because I pulled my best friend's husband to the side and I said, that comment that you made, it struck me because I'm a gay man. Mm-hmm. So what does that imply about my being in your child's life? And they're like, oh, you're you. I'm like, well, that's the same thing. Like, and you have to be aware of those messages that you say out loud that your children can hear. They internalize that and they hear that, oh, Robin's bisexual. That's negative. And I'm like, I'm not telling you to change. I'm only just, you know, but I'm just saying, like, you have to watch how and what you say, because whether you believe it or not, your kids are sponges. Like, they listen to everything. They see everything. They can read your body language. They can see when something is negative. And you were sending a very negative tone about sexuality. And so I just love that. And I always, another thing that always perturbs me, I don't know if I use that term right, but when, like, the coming out stories, people's coming out stories, and they're like, oh, what's your coming out story? Like, I actually don't have coming out story. I was myself my whole life. And, you know, no surprise to my family, but why is the expectation for the queer person or the person in the LGBTQ or the person that's non-binary? Why is the expectation for us to reveal our most deep, darkest thing that we are, you know, overcoming? Why is the same expectation not on the heterosexual community? Why is Jimmy not coming home saying, you know what, Mom, I like girls? Like, you know, and it's just like, but it just comes back to my point of, like, I really, like, that story really touches me, Jonny, in the sense that, like, you're allowing, and I met Piper, that's my girl. I was back on the Hearts of Reality bus, and she tapped me, and I was like, hey, even though Jonny ain't say hi to me that time, but you know that story was coming.
I knew it.
But
it sounds like a dick move.
It was a dick move.
But it's like, you know, you are.
Brice was almost as much at fault as me. I feel that I don't need to impose my will on it. You know, it's just like I know I'm me, and I know how much I am. So I'm just like, you know, I don't want to infringe on everyone's stuff. And I've had people pull me aside, like after that Hearts Reality, they're just like, hey, like, when you're walking around town, you know, like, you know, you look down sometimes. And I was just like, yeah, because I know, like, there's plenty of people that don't like Jonny Fairplay, and, you know, and I don't want to be like, hey, look at me. And I don't want it to be seen as, you know, hey, I need attention. And they're like, well, people do know who you are. And, you know, and, you know, there's, for the one person that doesn't want to meet you, there's 10 other people that would love to be included in your life. And so, you know, I had to take a step back and realize that. But as I said, it wasn't me being a dick. It's just like, you know, just me. Like, I'm just like, you know, if someone wants, I was under the impression if someone wanted to meet me, they would say hey to me.
No, I received that, but also pause in the Piper story, because now we're gonna dive into this story. For me, you know, I'm the third boot in Cagayan, so for me, I literally at times look at myself like I'm a nobody, like don't nobody know who I am, and like, you know, for me it was like, oh my God, that's Jonny Fairplay. Don't act crazy, Brice. Don't act crazy.
See, is exact. I love the guy in the purple pants.
So yes, but no, I received that though, Jonny, because sometimes you just don't know, and so and you never know that, like, somebody's excitement. But back to Piper's again, and not to make it all about her, but I love the fact that you were just giving her room to just breathe and just to be herself, and I just wish that more parents could have that mindset. I think that some parents are like, oh no, I don't want this for like, no, like your child going to do whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
Like let them be great, support them. And
well, you want them miserable for 18 years until, I mean, because like, I'm like, you know, Piper, I don't know what Piper's plans are, but I can tell you my plans are for Piper not to live here past 18, whether she wants that.
So she needs to be healthy and whole so she can. Like,
yeah. So I mean, so regardless, she's going to be what she wants to be at age 18. So, you know, why does she need to live in misery until then? So, but I think it all started, shockingly, it all started with the fact that, you know, she was pro pride, and, you know, she was buying the pride shirts and stuff. And, you know, and I believe at the start of this journey, I don't think there was I like girls, and I don't even think, I don't know anything. I think this all comes, you know, just based on conversations with Piper. This all starts, Piper and her friends and a lot of her generation, they just hate. They cannot, like bullies, or like when I was a kid, like I wanted to be a bully. I was just like, man, one day I'm going to be a bully. And it's going to be so cool. And like Piper's friends, like if you're a bully, they band together and they're like, you are not going to be a bully. Mm. And, you know, and someone that doesn't like someone because of, you know, how they feel, what they like, what they look like, they're not cool with that either. And, right. and you know, and shockingly, you know, the offspring of Jonny Fairplay, this is the belief system that I've put into my children.
Yes. So. I love it.
All of this is making me think, there's a Glennon Doyle quote I love. There's no such thing as one-way liberation. Mm-hmm. When you liberate yourself, you can't help but liberate and give permission to the people around you. And like that father that you tried to help him connect his reaction to the bi character to like, what's the bigger thread here? I think when people that have these knee-jerk anti-LGBTQ reactions, again, behaviors, communication, what is that, what's the fear inside them? And if they can get past that, other people being liberated to be themselves around them might be liberating to them too. And I think that a lot with straight males. I've never lived their experience, but it seems like straight males are going through a hard time right now with how to be men and masculine in this era. And I don't know. There's no such thing as one-way liberation. It could, all of this queer visibility could be liberating for them too.
Yeah,
like.
And it's no threat to you.
Right.
It's like I don't, you know, it's no threat to you. And I think that, yeah, the more that they can see, and again, the more they can have healthy relationships. I'm one of my best friends is like Wendell Holland, and like, you know, he's the complete opposite of me. And the one thing that I love about being Wendell's friend is that, like, you know, he celebrates me. He shows the world we're friends. And I think that more positive imagery, more representation, it matters. People, whether they realize it or not, whether like they're internal, what they were raised with, if they can see positive imagery of things that have never historically, especially like in the Black community, a heterosexual Black man being best friends with a gay Black man, like, you know, we don't normally see that in our community. And so to just break barriers and just to be so visible and present, it really changes lives. And I think that's like a reflection of even like, you know, with Piper and just any kid anywhere, like, you know, it like LGBTQ plus is everywhere. It's in everybody's family, whether people choose to believe it or not. And so I think, again, you lead with love, you lead with like, you know, and if you don't know something, say that. And if something makes you uncomfortable, say that. I think that, you know, in this era, people are scared to say that. It's okay if my lifestyle makes you uncomfortable, but just know it has nothing to do with you or me. Like, you know, you've got to work through that issue. That's not my problem. That's your problem. So why are you projecting that on me? And so I think that, again, if we can come to a place where there's more positive representation, there's more imagery of just like not the gay man being the fashion stylist and all of this, like there's doctors, there's realtors, there's like, you know, TV anchors, there's actors. The more positive imagery that we can see, I think absolutely for the better. We're going to get more hate, but that's how you know you're doing something great is when the egg Twitter come for you. That's how you know you're on to something like amazing, is that like, you know, people are hating because like, you know, they don't know any better.
So what are you doing with reality TV for diversity and representation?
So specifically like around the George Floyd time, this time last year, when there was the big civil rights movement in the country, a lot of the Black Survivor came together and said, like, what can we do that's within our realm? Like, we're not like activists, we're not, politicians, but like, we're in reality TV. And we understand that, like, Survivor is like the granddaddy of like, reality TV. And a lot of people don't interact with Black people, but they might watch Survivor and they might, say like, oh my God, like I love this guy. And so we really like took a look at and talked about our own individual experiences. And we came up with the commonality that like, there isn't a lot of great representation as like Black imagery for like Black men, Black women, queer Black men, queer people of color in general. And so we, did a call to action to CBS. And so it was rightly scary. Anyone that has played Survivor, whether they want to admit it or not, they all want that call saying like, hey, we want you back. And so we all were nervous to speak out. We didn't know how CBS was going to take it. However, they and again, it's also in the way that we did it. It's not calling CBS out to say, hey, you're doing this wrong. It was really about calling them in to say like, hey, we are all Black survivors and these are our individual experiences. And this is how we feel. And, we had a call to action. This is what you could do to do better. And CBS was so open to it. Like, I mean, we had a meeting with Jeff, we had a meeting with the executive producers, and they were so like open and like wanted to hear more. And, shortly after that meeting, they came out with their announcement that, moving forward on all of CBS's unscripted shows, there'll be at least 50% BIPOC. And we see that in the Big Brother, we see that in Survivor. And it's not just about getting more representation in front of the camera. In order to tell a Black man or a Black woman's story, you might need to be Black. And so we need representation behind the cameras. We need producers and editors. And there's definitely been a lot of change on the front of that. We even talked about mental health. I don't know how your experience was, Jonny, but like, the mental health piece of Survivor. And again, I'm just the third boot, but I can tell you, I can't tell you how many times like watching my season or even going to a charity event like Hearts and I get to see LJ and Jeremiah from my season, who they're literally like my brothers. During the day, we're great. And then at night, when I maybe have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 drinks, I'm like by the pool cussing them out. And I'm like, you know what? And at this point, they're like, we're just so used to it. This is Brice. And I, again, had to say to myself, like, maybe you haven't really healed from what went on, right? Like, where is that coming from? That's like, okay, the first time, ha, 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 funny. The second time, he, funny. The third time, bitch, what's wrong with you? Yeah. And so, again, calling CBS in to say like, the mental health pieces. And again, I'm only the third boot. I can't imagine with someone like Jonny, who went far in the game, who's legendary, like how that must feel and how some triggers for you. And so, working on getting like, therapists that are like, that look like us, that can like, represent us. And so they committed to a lot of change. And so it just really feels great. My mom always said like, leave something better than you found it. And I'm just honored to say that like, the game that I love, that I had the opportunity to play, that I am like changing the landscape for the next queer Black man that plays, for the next person of color that plays. It's really a humbling and honor experience. And I'm just so happy that Survivor coming back. Okay. Now I'm just not drunk on Wednesdays for no reason. Now I could just be drunk on Wednesdays because Survivor is a
greater purpose.
Yes.
We had 2 survivors on my first season on Suicide Watch after they were voted out. So, and Rupert for my season, I don't know if I've told the story on the Help NSFW podcast. If I have, I apologize. If not, Brice's, I don't think has heard it. So, but I remember I was told after the fact in the middle of the night when Rhino was voted out as Survivor. Rupert came to his room in the middle of the night and put his hand over his mouth and said, don't talk. Come with me. Found a boat and a machete. We're going to the island and I'm cutting off Johnny Fairplay's arms and legs. and he told Rhino to shake his head yes or no, and Rhino said yes. So anyway, so he took his hand off his mouth, and Rhino goes, he's like, cool, I'm with you, I'm about this plan, give me 1 second. And he ran out of his, he's like, Dr. Liza, Dr. help. Rupert's going to kill Johnny Fairplay. So it's, I mean, I've been on sports talk radio shows, and when Ronda Rousey lost her first fight, she contemplated suicide because she's an alpha personality. Her goal is to win. That's her end game throughout life and throughout every single challenge in front of her. And I think a lot of people on reality television, whether it be The Challenge, Big Brother, or Survivor, we are all alpha personalities, and we want to win that challenge. And and to go out is just like, and every person going out there to play Survivor, I mean, you might go in with a floater strategy, but your end game is to win. So there's not one person there that's just like, I don't want to win, I just want to go out, like I just want to meet Jeff. Well, you met Jeff at casting, so if that was your goal, you could be like, cool, we're good, see ya. So no, your goal is to win Survivor. So when that dream is crushed, and with the extreme alpha personality, it's pretty tough. I mean, we had Sarah Rice on from the challenge. She's quit she's no longer doing the challenge, and she's a therapist, and she works directly with reality television people, for talking through their problems, because I fortunately, I embraced the bad guy thing, and I felt that, I would have liked the $1 million. It would have helped with my spending options. But at the same time, I got the fulfillment that I needed, other than winning the $1 million. I got everything else I wanted. And so, and embracing the hate, and, because I chose this life. So I was cool with that. But, it could have, if the Johnny Fairplay character wasn't created, if the dead grandma lie hadn't have happened or any of that, I would probably be walking around today, probably miserable.
Yeah. And I think what people don't account for it is that, Survivor's filmed months in advance. And although you mend the relationships with the people, during that time, it's a whole nother thing when it airs. That wound is bust wide open. Yep. And, not to mention the egg avatars on Twitter egging things on. There's a lot of things that could happen. And I think that Survivor in the past has done a good job with vetting and, having support while we are filming. But I think, afterwards, and I'm not even talking months, I'm even talking a year after, you never know what that experience can be. And people forget that, it might be a reality show, but we're really out there. I might have only been out there 8-9 days, but I mean, it felt like an eternity. And it's your real life. I know people that have come back and they're in the office, copying something, and they hear somebody talking and they what you saying about me? It's real. So yeah. And you said, Jonny, and I think it's similar to myself. I'm the type of a person that I can embrace and go with it. When my season was originally on, they're this guy with the purple pants, and now I have a purple pants empire. Mm-hmm. But there aren't some people that believe that they're strong, they can't handle it. They don't know how to go with the flow. They've only ever received positive praise in their life, and then to go on a nationally syndicated show and to get negative feedback, people just don't know how to handle it. And you think you're equipped, you think you're mentally strong until you're getting that hate. And there could be literally 1,000 positive comments saying oh, you're the best. And it only takes that one comment to really fuck up your day, fuck up your month. And so I definitely think that, for reality TV, it's definitely great whether or not they provide it for you to just seek your own peace and for you to get closure. Even if you think you got closure, get closure for the closure that you think you got closure for.
Yeah. But it's not one or two negative comments. I mean, just the fact that, Survivor is the juggernaut that it is, the volume of negative comments. Because I did my cast assessment of the Yellow Tribe for season 41 last week. And and we went in. I had War Dog and Victoria and Matt Bischoff with me, and we base our cast assessment on 3 paragraphs in a picture. That's it. And the podcast is done for entertainment purposes, and and we're looking for negatives, and we're joking. And I feel bad because we finished the podcast and we ended, both, myself, War Dog, Matt, and Victoria, all of us. It's just like, look, we said all these things jokingly. We understand there's going to be some negative stuff coming your way, and we're here for you. You are a part of our family now, but it's so I'm sure they just heard the negative. They're like, fuck these guys. And, they didn't listen to the end. And I feel bad for that. So, but I have since talked to a few of the players. No spoilers because it ruins my podcast, and I hate spoilers. Like if there's a new Marvel movie, I go the day it comes out because I'm just like, you ain't fucking ruin this for people. so I know nothing. I don't want to know anything, but I start to like if they reach out or I reach out, I'm just like, look, I don't want to know anything. I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything. But welcome to the family,
right?
And they're just like, the negative stuff came quick, huh? I'm just like, I'm just like, friendly advice. Don't read the comments.
Right.
I'm like, I know you want to. I mean, like, it's hard not to.
Yeah, poking a bruise.
So, but I'm like, and I'm all for everyone having their own opinion. You have the right to. I mean, like, that's why we live where we live. You do have the right to have your own opinion. However, if you have something horrific to say about me or my family or especially my children, don't at me. Yeah. Like just say, like, I promise you, if you just put, fuck Johnny Fairplay without an at, I am not going to find it. I will not seek it out. I don't need to know. So, but just the gall and crassness and just disgustingness of adding someone and saying just horrific things. Why is that need there?
Yeah. Talking to Sarah Rice was so helpful for me because I thought before our convo with her, like, people's reactions to being on reality TV, well, it must be because that's the kind of people that they are. That's just who they got casted. I would keep my head level if I were in that environment. And the way Sarah explained it, I was just like, holy fuck, I'm an idiot. No, I would be just why would I think I would be an exception? I would be just as messed up by that experience.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to remember, they're making a TV show. Like, they
Yes.
want to pin you against each other. They want, riveting TV. So it's hard because people are like, oh, they can only use what you give them. But they also can edit something to make it look a certain type of way.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, and I don't love it. I mean, like going into season 41, Voce, we nicknamed him Dr. Death. I want Dr. Death to be the biggest bad guy. I mean, other than myself, like one of the biggest bad guys in the history of Survivor. And, I love the bad guys, but, I can imagine myself watching and rooting against him. I want to root against people. I don't want to root against, I don't want to root against someone because they're gay or because they're black or because they're white. I want to root against them because they're a despicable human being. Or I want to root against you because you're fucking too fucking good. And just like, fuck this dude, fuck this chick.
Right.
But that I think that I don't need Kumbaya Survivor. I want fucking I want rivalries. I want I want tension. So, but I want it just based on the human qualities that these people display.
Right. And keeping in mind that it's based off of this show. Like, there's nothing more else to it. Like, I'm not talking about you personally. Yeah. I'm just talking about what I see. And so I think as newbies, it can be hard to receive that. But I think that after they cross the threshold, they can maybe understand a little bit more of, it's almost like a friendly hazing process in the Survivor community. Like, we're going to jokingly tease you, but it's in a loving way. It's like a sibling. Like, if like,
they were here for you.
Right, exactly. Like, we can joke with you, but if the outside world come for you, we're going to band together. And I think that it's important to remember that. And I agree with you. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. Say what you want. But I also think there is a way in how you say it, and like, you know, be respectful, because, you know, I've got opinions, I've got things, and I always, like, again, I come from a place of, if I've got a critique of someone or if I got something negative to say, I always like pretend like they're my brother or my cousin. And so, like, you know, I'm gonna say it, but I'm gonna make sure I say it, you know, in a not a hurtful way. But you won't get my point, though. You know, it still might sting a little.
Sounds like you've got a lot of savvy. I saw that in an article about you too. Your street smarts and social awareness. It seems like, yeah, you get how to work with people, organizations, what to adjust, what levers to pull.
Yeah, I'm a gay Black man from Philly. It's not anything that it's my life experience. It's literally like me having to grow up and survive in a mainstream city that's not necessarily for me. So I very quickly, and again, I think that's why I'm so successful in social work, is that, like, I am non-threatening. I can, you know, be able to kind of like go places that other people can't go. I'm able to see things that other people aren't able to see. So my perspective is a little different. And so I still get my point across. I still am very much spicy Bricey, but I know when to lay the stinger, and I know when to shut the fuck up.
All right, so we do a thing each week. Well, actually, we do two things. Kendall's about trying one thing.
That's right. Keep it simple.
Yeah, but we have a call to action, and we have a charity. Brice, do you have a call to action for all the ladies and gentlemen out there?
I do have a call to action. My call to action would be sometime this week, this month, whatever your schedule allows, is to take care of yourself. Do something for yourself specifically. Self-care. I'm huge on self-care. I think that as a society, we don't promote it enough. Like you said, Jonny, we're working 4 or 5 jobs. We got to pay bills, and we don't take enough time for ourselves. So my thing is to do something at least this week, this month, for yourself that, like, doesn't involve anyone else, something that you enjoy. For me, I'm a bath person. If and this is like maybe a weird thing of mine, if like, and this is how you know I like you. If you invite me to your home and you got a nice bathtub, I'm gonna take a bath. Like,
I love it.
That would make me feel so hospitable. Like, oh my gosh, Brice must be so comfortable here. He's in my tub. He must really also trust that I'm clean.
Yeah. I love baths. They are like, I hot water, some bubbles, some Epsom salt, a bath bomb, and a candle, and some music. And that is just like my happy place. It just, like, you know, I'm not thinking about anyone else. I'm just thinking about myself. And so, you know, actually, I'm going to take my call to action tonight. I'm going to take a nice bath. But my call to action is to do something for yourself, whether it's running, whether it's getting your nails done, whether it's, you know, shopping on Amazon, whatever it is, do something that's specifically for yourself, because we do so much for other people that we don't even realize that we just don't even take the time to care for ourselves. And I think that self-care is so important, and it's an understatement. We don't talk about it enough. So my call to action is some self-care, whatever it is: journaling, running, taking a bath, having a glass of wine, whatever your thing is, do it.
And you know what? Please tag us, #HelpNSFW, or tag Jonny or I on Instagram. He's on Twitter. I'm not. But I would love to see the different things that people do.
Yeah. And tag Brice.
Yes, I want to see.
Brice, if you want to tag us from your bath, just your
yes,
out, or your products, I would just love to know. But, you know, that's you time, so I understand.
Yes, I got you covered.
All right. And Brice, I know you got a charity.
Yes. So my charity is the Mahogany Project. The Mahogany Project aims to reduce social isolation, stigma, and acts of injustice against the TQL BGTQ plus community of color. It's been one of like my passion projects for a really long time. And I just love what they do. They're based out in Houston, but they really aim for like Black queer people, and especially our trans community, the Black trans community of color. And we know that, you know, I said I am a minority, and a minority for our Black trans community. They are, for some reason in our society, they're just not seen. The homicide rate on our Black trans sisters is like crazy, and it doesn't seem to be talked about. People don't bring up enough about it. I always talk about allyship, and I always, want to be a great ally, and I try to be an ally to our trans community. So the Mahogany Project does great work, and I just love to highlight them any chance that I get.
Mahogany Project, got that down.
Okay, and we will have a link in the
show notes.
in the show notes.
Yeah, tag us too when you support Mahogany Project, so we can be like, woohoo, good job. Well, speaking of everything Mahogany Project is about, can we have a t-shirt corner just so that I can promote my friend? Because my friend is a Black queer artist, and she has an amazing clothing line, Hello Boogie. My shirt says the first Pride was a riot. So
let them know.
Anyone else want to highlight their t-shirt too, so I don't feel like an asshole for doing that?
Well, I mean, I'm not wearing one of my shirts.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, go to johnnyfairplay.com and get a shirt. I got the season 41 cast an homage to each of them, dropping daily. And my favorite shirt, well, actually, it's not even a shirt; it's a sweatshirt. It's a purple pants podcast sweatshirt. I don't have it.
Wait, can I show y'all one of my favorite t-shirts to wear? But can I be back in 2 seconds? I just gotta go get it.
I'll show everyone the back of my shirt while you're
gone. Give me 2 seconds.
There you go. If you're looking for Hello Boogie, search it out. You can get yourself some Hello Boogie gear.
Support Black queer artists.
Yeah.
And it's also #shop local because she lives in Danville.
Sweet. And Brice is going to come back. I hope he's coming back with the invitation to his Zaddy calendar for me.
Oh, fuck, I forgot to ask about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be.
All right, I'm back. Now, this t-shirt is my favorite t-shirt. I can't tell you. So I've worn it about 4 times. Every time that I have wore it, I cannot tell you, and mind you, people don't know I'm from Survivor because, they don't know who I am. But the times I get stopped and they're like, is that real? Did that really happen? I love.
Oh, wow. The free Johnny Fairplay t-shirt.
That is recent. That is very fresh.
Yeah, that is my #1 selling t-shirt of all time. I think I sold to both people that love me and hate me.
That's right. Your angles.
I get stopped, and it's the weirdest places, the farmer's market. I'm like, what the hell? Wait. And it's all walks of life, older people, younger people. I literally, Wendell was like, why are you wearing this shirt? I'm like, this shirt is bomb. And people always are like,
please send me a picture of you in that shirt. I need that more than life itself.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time and your energy, your spirit, your authenticity. And I love your recommendations. So everyone take care of yourself. Tag us when you do and support the Mahogany Project. And I think the last thing I need to know is what a Zaddy is and when you're going to put Jonny on your Zaddy calendar.
So, a zaddy historically is, I guess the new word for a hot person. But I like to put a twist on it. For me, a zaddy is somebody that embodies allyship. Somebody that is, for me, if you are ally, you a zaddy, you hot. That you are, you represent who you are, and that your sex appeal exudes allyship. And so that really for me is what a zaddy means. Now, when Johnny Fairplay would be a zaddy calendar, I'm thinking, 2036 is probably
there we go. It's just right around the corner.
Yes.
All right. Well, we love goal setting. So thank you for defining that. I assumed it was just a daddy.
So, and that's a lot of people, when it originally started, I would assume it's a silver fox, an older, mature person, so instead of daddy, it's zaddy. But, I put my own little Brice Izyah twist on it. So, there are, a lot of zaddies out there. So, but for me, it exudes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brice, before we let you go, where can everyone find you on social media and your podcast?
Yeah, so I am Brice Izyah. That's Izyah. I'm on the Instagrams. I'm on the Twitters. I mean, I'm on the Tick, but I don't really make it talk like that. So yes, and then the Purple Pants podcast every Tuesday. I'm dropping a new episode. We're talking about pop culture. We're talking about reality TV. We're talking about social justice. We're talking about self-care. So it's a Purple Pants podcast. You can find that anywhere you get your podcast from. Is that Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, and if you're from Philly, my uncle Pookie, you know, he got like a 1973 Cadillac. You can catch him. You can get the subscription out of his trunk. But yeah, I am around. Yeah, Brice Izyah. And thank you so much for having me. This is such a great good stuff. And I'm so excited to be, you know, out here with you, Jonny. I was waiting for that phone call. I said, is he ever going to ask me? I don't know.
Stop,
I don't know.
Stop. Hey, this is what, episode 6? You're head of the pack.
Okay. All right. I feel good.
Yeah, you're the elite.
Okay.
All right. So with that,
all right. Thank you.
Until next
Thank you
time,
so much.
we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Brice.